Shalom Aleichem, welcome everybody to this. I'm excited to launch tonight's shir. It's been a long time coming since we did that event in Elul in the museum with Rabbi Garelik. It was an excitement to get a business halacha shir going. And so, Baruch Hashem, we finally had the opportunity to have Rabbi Hertz to come tonight to talk about tonight's topic. Just want to give a little hakdama about Rabbi Hertz. How many of you are Oli Torah next? In the room, how many Oli Torah alumni? No, so I'm an alumni of Oli Torah. I learned there in Tufshin Nun Hey. So that would be 25 years, right? 25 years ago. Gosh. So my favorite Maggid Shir in all the years. I was in Oli Torah for 3 years, and Rabbi Hertz was my favorite Maggid Shir. Baruch Hashem, he was a tremendous lamdin, and has an amazing koyach hasvara, amazing ability to explain things very clearly. And Baruch Hashem, he's a Rav, and he's a Rosh Hashiva in Oli Torah, and we're honored to have him come tonight. He's going to talk about Meiser. This is a big topic everybody wants to hear about. There's a lot to talk about. Really, as he'll explain, there's two sides to the story of Meiser. There's what is the chiyuv of Meiser, like in the responsibility side, and then there's what you could give, what causes are Meiser worthy. So we're going to start off with the first part. We'll see how much time it takes, if we have time to get to that, or if it'll be a continuation. And so, without further ado, I'll introduce Rabbi Hertz. I just as a comment, many of you know me personally, but just CHYE, we're here to be a support for everybody that's getting into business, running a business, or if people are looking for jobs. That's a new division we have now to help with jobs. So, if you know anyone that could use a job, or anybody that's starting a business or in a business and needs advice, needs support, we're always here 24/6, as they say. All right, Rabbi Hertz, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good night. Good evening. Good night. Good evening, everyone. So I'm here to give a share on the topic of Meiser, which is a very interesting topic. So the reason why we're starting off first about the chiyuv is because that will also explain the details later on where one could give Meiser for. So I would like to start with, there's one, you have a copy here of the Rebbe's letters. It's letters from the Rebbe mostly. Page Kuf Chavav. The letter Hafrosha B'Shas Hatchak, when someone is in a difficult situation, does he have to give Meiser? So the Rebbe writes, B'masha kosav oides nesinas ma'aseh l'tzedakah, he's writing about giving Meiser to tzedakah, lepelak tzas hashaylo. The Rebbe is surprised on the question. Achrei she'inyin hu b'shulchan aruch, u'bifrat b'teichei adas chasidim. Since it's a din in Shulchan Aruch, and especially amongst Chassidim. And the Rebbe says, Adarab, if you can't do it right now, but it will only help you be able to get parnasa. So, where is the makar? Where is the source of giving Meiser? It's in Shulchan Aruch. We'll start with the Shulchan Aruch, Reish Mem Tes. It's a Yeridea Hilchas Tzedakah. Kama chayiv litain v'ketzad yitnana. How much are you obligated to give, and how should you give it? Shiur nisinasa, the amount of giving. Im yodem asekes, if you're able to give, yitin kifitzerech haniyim, should give as much as the poor people need. Vim ein yodem asekes kolkach, if he's not able to give so much, yitin ad choymesh nechosav mitzvah ben amufchar. It's a hidur mitzvah. It's a mitzvah ben amufchar means it's something special if you give up to a fifth of your wealth. Ve'echad mi'asor, and a tenth midah beinis. That's the standard. A tenth. Poches mikan, less than a tenth. Ayin ra means that you have a bad eye. Means you're not generous. And he continues. V'choymesh zeh she'amru. This fifth, shana rishona mihakeren. The first year it's from the principal. Mikam ve'elech, from then on, choymesh shehirviach b'chol shana, a fifth from your profit every year. So look at the Shach, Sifsei Kohen on the right base. I just want to give the basic. Du adin b'maiser. We're going to focus more on maiser on the 10th. Lebeinani shanoisen, he has to give shana rishona, the first year maiser ma'akeren. From your principal, you have to give a 10th. V'achakach maiser ma'revach. So this is not something which is, and then from the profit, a 10th. This is something which is not so common, that people don't know. You may meet many people who probably do give maiser. They don't know they have to give maiser from the first principle, the principle that you have to give also a 10th. What does it mean from the principle? So Rav Moshe, in Igros Moshe, which I made a copy, Igros Moshe, Rav Moshe Feinstein, it's the second to the last page. On the right hand column, the last paragraph, Ubedovar, Ma hashiur, what's the amount? Shall Maisek Sofim Bizman Hazet today? Lo imuvoni kavonoscha ba'shayla. Very similar to what the Rebbe responded. I don't understand your question, he says. Homafurish b'simen reish mem tes. It's clear in halacha. Shana rishona mi'akeren, the first year is for the principal. Now what does it mean, principal? Principal doesn't mean most people who do business take a loan. A lot of people. But here it means hamoy shehisik tchila lasos behem mischar im nosle matona or yerusha. Someone inherited wealth from his father, from his uncle, or they gave him a gift. So before you do a business investment, the first time you have to take a 10th of the principal, which is very difficult. Some people, Sefer Avas Chesed wrote about Meiser, says many people find it very difficult to give away a 10th of the actual principal. But that's something which the Shulchan Aruch writes. And then he says, from the 9/10th of your principal, Yasa Mischa, you should make the business, and then you give a 10th from the profit. So this is a din in Shulchan Aruch. If you go back to the Rebbe's letters, the second page, he brings from the Alter Rebbe, Igros Kodesh. So he says, second line, Mikdoisha Elyon, Asheruach Hashem Diberba, Melos Alashen, Mehim Sanhed, Gdoile Shabusha, Shiskinu, Shamavazvez, Alivazvez, Yosem Mechemish, Dainu, Shana Rishoina Min HaKeren. It also mentions the principle, Mekabel. So that's something new, which I spoke to some people, many people don't know this, but it's brought down in person. Some people, I'm not saying it as a, some people write that we give tzedakah, and we don't see we give meiser. People say, well, I give tzedakah, I give meiser, and I don't see the bracha. The Gemara says, aser to aser b'shvil shetisasher. So they said, maybe you're not giving it correctly. You forgot to give a 10th from the keren. So that's halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Now the question is, not so many people start off a business, correct? But those who do, correct. Now, the question is,
it's only from the Matona and Yerusha.
Right.
But Matona and Yerusha, you receive it, you take it to myself.
Right.
Now when you invest it in a business.
Right. When you receive it, right away before you invest it.
It's for a business.
Right. As a chidush. Now, is this din of meiser? It's part of tzedakah. Is it minat Torah to give meiser from your money? Is it midrabanan? Or according to some, you'll see it's a minag. A minag starting from Avram Avinu and Yitzchak and Yaakov. Avram said, "Vayitle meiser Mikoel." Yitzchak gave meiser, and Yaakov said, "V'chol asher titen li aser asrenu loch." So many poskim, right? It's only a minag. Bizman hazeh. The Torah does not say you have to give money from your ksafim, from the money. It says tvua. Aser to aser is called tvua zarecha yitza soda, right? Tvua. There's a din of meiser rishon. The first year is meiser rishon, and meiser sheni. Then the second year, and the third year is meiser oni. In the Torah, it doesn't say meiser ksafim. So some people write, it's a minhag, and therefore, I just want to give a little hakdama here. It's brought down. I'll show you in a second. The Pischei Tshuva, which is a malakit of many poskim, writes that a lot of poskim write it's a minhag that people accepted upon themselves to give meiser. It's a wonderful minhag, and the first one that said it clearly in halacha is the Bach writes it's lo midat Torah, lo midat rabbanan, minhag. And many poskim followed it. And that's why some poskim, even Bizman Hazeh, the Malaktim or poskim, say that therefore you could be lenient a little bit about Meiser because it's only a minhag, it's not so much of a chiyuv. However, we'll see in a second, based on the Rebbe's letters, and it seems, and based on what we just learned the Shulchan Aruch, it's a din in Shulchan Aruch. It's not a minhag. It says kama chayev yechayev. Chiyuv. It's a chiyuv. Now, where is the mocker? It's yechayev. In Gemara it says aser to aser. It's a bracha. If you give ma'aser, you'll have ashirus. What does it say you have to give? If a person wants to give tzedakah, it's a mitzvah tzedakah. What's the amount? You give a poor person to eat. Comes to your door, you give him to eat. You makayim mitzvah tzedakah. Where's the chiyuv to give ma'aser ksafim? In other words, what is the mocker for this din in Shulchan Aruch? And some people even wanted to be medayik. In this halach itself, it seems it's not chiyuv mamash, because it says if you give less than a tenth, what is it? Ayin ra'ah. It doesn't say you're called an avarion, you did an avera. It says ayin ra'ah. So it seems like I'm giving you a suggestion what to do. It's a good thing to give midah beininus. It's a good thing to give a tenth. However, like we said before in the beginning, it seems from the Rebbe and from Moshe's Lashon, you're asking, it says the din in Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch is a chiyuv. So what is the mocker? Turn to the third page in this booklet. Masechta Tainis, the top of the Gemara. Aser to aser, aser bishvil shetis asher, right? So Tosfos on the left says, a sifri, hachi isi b'sifri, aser to aser, this is the pasuk in Torah, it's called tvu azarecha yitze esod shana shana, ein li ela tvu azarecha shechayev b'maiser. The pasuk is talking about tvu, produce, things which grow in the field. That's what you have to give a tenth. Ribis, wow, interest. What does it mean, interest? If you take it from
dividends from
a goy, right? Right? Correct? If you get ribis from a goy. Uprakmatio. Prakmatio means business. V'chol shar revochim. All other profits. Minayin. How do we know we have to give a tenth? Tamuloyma es kol. It says es kol. It's a ribuy. Could have said tvu oscha. Why say kol? Includes other types of profits you have to give ma'aser. The rabbi is ribis uvakmat v'chol dova shmarviach. So next page. I just want to show you the mocker, like this we'll understand the halachas later. The Birkei Yosef, who's the Chidah, which a Rebbe brought it down many times as a posek, famous posek, the Chidah writes that the Shu'ascha kivino kol hayoim, right? That we have to ask for Mashiach every second of the day. So the Chidah writes like this. I made a little on the left column. Ve'echad ma'asor of midah beinis, ken kosav Rambam. Umoron means Beis Yosef. He calls Moron lo yishmiyanu mehecha nafkele. What's the mocker for ma'aser? And he says v'nira. It's from the Sifri that Tosfos brings. Tosfos brings a Sifri. This is the only source in Shas, not a Gemara. It's a Tosfos that quotes a Sifri, that you have to give ma'aser from all your profits. And it's obviously not a deraisa, because the pasuk is talking about tvua, and the pasuk talks about different ma'aser rishon, ma'aser sheni. It's a derabbanon. Rabbanon included ma'aser ksaf and give ma'aser, and he brought a pasuk as a basis for this chiyuv. So then he writes, if you look at the middle of this paragraph, Hein Emes. If you know, the Chidah traveled the world. The Chidah was one of the famous poskim. He lived 70 years and he wrote 70 Sfarim. His name was Reb Chaim Yosef David Azulai. Great Talmud Chacham, he was a shadar. He was collecting money from Yerushalayim and he used to travel all over the world. He used to come to Italy, went to the museums, and he saw new manuscripts of Rishonim. So he read the manuscript, and he memorized the manuscript, and then he wrote it. But he couldn't make copies, there were no copies then. So the Chidah writes, Hein emes de besifri shebiyodenu. The Sifri today in our hands, that means you go in the library and look on all the Sifris, Loi Ra'isi Zeh, you don't find this Tosfos, this not Tosfos, this drosha, this limud that you have to give Maisa from money is not written in our Sifri. But he writes, Anan Nekum Ahim Nusayah the Tosfos. We can trust Tosfos. Tosfos saw it. So basically, he brings the Bach and he brings those who claim it's not a chiyuv. It's not true, it's a din in Shulchan Aruch. It's a chiyuv. We learn out from Sifri, you have to give Maisa. So now we're going to discuss. So you give Maisa a tenth of your profit. Now, here comes the Shailas. As I mentioned before, it's not written in Gemara, Hilchis Maisik Sofim. It's not written. The only makar is a remez in a Tosfos and Sifri, which that's the basis of the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch. You have to give a Meiser a tenth. What the Gemara does say is, if a person wants to give tzedakah, al yevazvez yosem echaimish, don't give more than a fifth, because you're going to be the one who's going to have to go and collect afterwards. So here comes many questions came up. How do we give Meiser? If it's such an important mitzvah, it's a chiyuv, how do we do it? For example, start of an interesting shaila. If a person has multiple businesses, in one business he's making a profit, and in one business he's losing. So does he have to give Meiser from the profit? The Eibishter gave you a bracha, you give Meiser. For example, by a field, if you have two fields, one field you have growth, you have to give Meiser. No matter if the other field you lost, there was a drought or something happened. So each field is individual. Each bracha require the Eibishter's bracha, you have to give Meiser. So what do we do when it comes to business? How do we calculate it? Number one. Number two, at what point of your business do you calculate they have to give Meiser? Every week, every month, every year, every business? What's the time? So this Shaila, the Pischei Tshuva quotes right here on the bottom. You see Pischei Tshuva. I just read the first line. Im hayala eisek echad. Here, the first page on this booklet. Pischei Tshuva. Im hayala be'eisek echad revach or be'eisek echad hefsid. So he quotes different opinions back and forth. So it becomes already a shaila. Now, the reason why I'm discussing it is because a person wants to do the right thing. So obviously you can make a kula, you can be mekel, right? You can find a kula, have an opinion. It says, but the question is, what is the halacha, the psak halacha, which is ongenumen, which is accepted today? So what is accepted today is the opinion of the Noda B'Yehuda, who was a great posek in Prague. I made a copy of this tshuva, and the reason I made a copy is because I want to show you his hagdama to the answer of this question. After the Birkei Yosef, oops, it's a little black, right? All of them like that? All of them, okay. So just look at it. It says if you have a hefsid and a revach, his question was, someone asked Noda B'Yehuda, I have one business a profit, one business.
Some of them are good at it.
Oh, some of them. Yeah. Oh, I just want to read it. This is a good one. Sorry. Yeah. Here. Noda B'Yehuda. The first part. He says, you asked me a question. Misha noiheg masek sofim. He starts with a minhag. You see? But later on he says, he brings the Sifri. He had a little bit of loss in one business. So what should he do? Should he calculate them on one lump and see, bottom line, I make a profit or not? Or each one is individual? So look what he answers. V'hine. I just want you should read this lashon. Eili nachas ledaber b'dover shein le'ikar b'talmud. It's very hard for me to speak something which there's no source in Gemara. Ki ha-talmud, the Gemara hu mokar lishev mimenu svares v'rayas. The Gemara is a source where you say a svara, the correct reasoning, proofs. Ubedava shein leishorish, something that doesn't have a source. Ein nimtze rayis svara shorshius. You can't say I have a reasoning which has basis. Rak, look at the expression. Svaras karsios. You know the Yiddish is saying. A boik svara. You ever heard that expression? A boik svara means it's a svara from your stomach, which has no basis. So therefore, you can give me a svara like this, and I can give me a svara like that, but what's my basis? And then he goes and starts off and he says, I'm not going to read the whole thing inside. He said, Mitzada svara, he starts off, next page. Mitzada svara, ein shituf la'ravach v'hefsed. You can't connect them both, because the Eibush gave you a bracha like by two fields. But then he says, Aval, Hanina Avnias Daiti, I can find you a proof from Rishonim that you could. Based on the mocker, on the source. Where do we learn out Meiser from? From where? We learn out from Sifri. Pasuk. Aser ta'aser as kol tu azarecha yitza asodeh shona shona. What does shona shona mean? Every year. Now when it comes to Tvua, what do we learn from shona shona? What does it mean shona shona? Now, every year you have to give a meiser. You can't give meiser from next year on the previous Tvua. You can't give from chodosh al yosham, right? Ein ma'asim mishona l'shona. What does it mean by meiser ksofim? We learn out you have to give a tenth from your profits. We learn out from this pasuk. Every year you have to give meiser. So he says, you know what it means every year? What does it mean a year? What does the years have to do with it? From every business, from every profit. When it comes to tvua, growth, so every year means that you can't use the next year's growth of produce to give meiser on the last year's growth. Okay, each tvua is separate. When it comes to meiser ksofim, money, when you make a business, what does that have to do with years? It has to do with business. From each business deal you should give. So he says, you know what it means? It means that every year you can make a calculation. That's what it means. That's the mocker, he says. You take the whole year and say, what was my business, what was my revach, and what was my hefset? And together, you calculate all together, everything.
But in each business, or?
Everything together, lump sum, it's a year. What is your total...
The year of this business, the year of that business?
No. The year, every year. Shana, shana. Every year, take the whole total business you have and calculate how much money you invested and how much profit you made, how much you lost, how much you made, and what's the bottom line. And that's the chiyuv meiser that Rabbanan require. In other words, he's proving from the source of the whole, only source we have is a Tosfos, which brings a Sifri, which we don't even have, the Sifri. And the Sifri says that you give meiser every year. What does it mean every year? That's not that we calculate a total. It's like you come to an accountant and you say, what was my this year, right? Tax season. What was my profit this year? That's what you calculate. So it doesn't make a difference how many businesses you have. So therefore, some poskim write that based on this Noida B'Yehuda, when would be the time to make the calculation? Rosh Hashanah. I just saw in a sefer they bring down from Rabbi Vosner, who says that's the accepted halacha today, based on this Noida B'Yehuda, that one can calculate all his business and you do Rosh Hashanah. However, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was also a Pesach, agrees you do it once a year, but he says you can choose any time of the year because it's only a remez. Instead, it's not a clear halacha. You have to go Rosh Hashanah when it comes to Ma'aseh Ksofim.
Could be many Rosh Hashanahs, depending.
Right, so you choose. You can't. But however, if you choose that April, tax season, that's the time. Next year you can't say, oh, it's better for me to go back and I'll do Rosh Hashanah. You have to make a choice. What is your yearly calculation? And once a year you make a calculation from all your profits and all your all the hefsed and revach, and your bottom line you give a meiser from that revach. So that's the first halacha that we learn about chiyuv meiser.
So just for people that aren't business owners, I'm saying that common practice is most people when they get a paycheck, they
Right.
just give a 10.
So some people,
You have to do
it doesn't make a difference. You can do it monthly also. It's not a chesar. But if you choose monthly, then you have to stick to that.
Right.
So once you give it, you can't say, okay, next month instead, every month, if you do it that way, it's okay. Not talking about.
So I don't know if you're going to cut to this later, but for the people that get paychecks,
Right.
right?
You don't have to do it once a
Well, one
month.
second, you give Meiser from the total paycheck, or you give Meiser
We
from...
didn't get there. One
Oh,
second.
you're getting it, okay.
We're getting there slowly.
Neither Yehuda is defining it as a minhag still.
No, but it's a hal chiyuv. It's a chiyuv d'rabbanon. Rabbanon mechayev based on this idea that you should give from free, give meiser ksofim, but you can give once a year from all your revachim, from your revach. Okay. Now, we'll get to it 1 second. So here comes another question. If you look, first of all, go back. If you look in the Lashon of Shulchan Aruch, right? What does it say there? B'choimish, Shana Rishona. It also talks about year. Shana Rishona, the second line, Ne'akeren. Mekam ve'ela choimish reviach b'chol shana. It talks about the year. And also in the Shach, he says the same thing applies to Meiser. So it has to do with the year. It has nothing to do so much with the business. It has to do with your year. What's your profit a year? Now, we're talking now about deductions. You have to give a tenth from your profit. How do you define profit? There's a few questions here. Number one, can you deduct expenses? Business expenses. A lease of a car. Insurance. You go to a business meeting, to a restaurant. All this is it, can you deduct it and say it's not my profit? Or you can't. Then if you say you could, what about expenses that I have, that I come home and I have to pay for my expenses at home? Can that be deducted? Or we say, no, you can't. What could you deduct when it comes to calculation? What is considered basically revach, profit? That's the question. And the next question is, what about taxes? This is a very common question. Do you pay remaiser before you pay taxes? Or you pay meiser after you pay taxes? And then there's another question. What kind of taxes? Income taxes, property taxes. Well, other taxes also, no? Those are two basic taxes. So can you include all the taxes? That's the question. And again, as I mentioned before, it is not mentioned in Shulchan Aruch, not in Gemara, all these dinim. What it just says is, you have to give from your revach, right? Lashon Sifri, revachim. What's revachim? Profit. So the logic is, it's discussed. Why is there a shaila? Let's go back. Why is there a shaila? Because by tvua, right? When you give meiser from tvua, so when you plant something in the ground, so you have expenses too. You have workers you paid for. You have the plants that you put in. So let's say you invested $10,000 and you made $50,000 profit. Right? It grew $50,000. So how much meiser do you give from tvua? Do you deduct all your expenses? No. Whatever it grows, you have to give. No matter how much money you spent. You don't deduct not the expenses, not the principal you invested. You have to give from everything meiser. So when it comes to money, that's the same question. That's the shaila the Chavos Yair in Tshuva, the Pesach Tshuva brings it down, had. So the poskim had such a question. The answer that most poskim give today, that's the common halacha. We'll see from the Rebbe's letters also. As I mentioned before, Ma'aseh Ksofim is not from the Torah. It's the Rabbanon. Some people can say it's a minhag. Rabbanon found a mocker in Torah, aseh ta'aseh. But what is the Lashon in Sifri? Give it from your revach. What's revach? Profit. So profit means profit. If you invested in your business $10,000 and you made profit 50, right? Not 50. You made 50, but you spent 10, so you can deduct the 10. You didn't make 50, you made 40. Because the 10 is not the profit. The profit is only 40. So therefore the poskim say that all your expenses, business expenses, everything, even if you go and buy yourself a car, but you need it for business, or any business expense that you're trying to make money, even if you didn't make money, but you used it as an expense for your business, is not included in Maisa, because bottom line is that's not your profit. That's your loss. The profit is what comes out after you spend all your money. Make a calculation, what's your profit? From that you have to give Maisa.
And it also says to give from the Karen.
Karen is only the first time. No, Karen is the principal. No. The Karen is only the first time you get a principal matono. Someone gave you $100,000 a gift, take down 10% and then invest 90. The following year you only give from profit. It's only one time you give from Karen. Understand what I just said? So Lashon is Chaimesh shehirviach b'chol shana. So what's a revach? Expenses are not revach. Expenses is you spent it for your business. So therefore you can include all business expenses. However, the expenses you have at home, you can't deduct.
Is there a level of expense? I mean, if you need a car for the business, you can get a Toyota, you can get a Lamborghini.
So I made a copy. Excellent question. So Rami Chasitzchak was also a posek Bizmana Achrein, the last generation, who had the Shaykhus the Rebbe, asked that question. Well, again, the copy is not good. It's not a good copy. Yeah. You see it, Minchas Yitzchak. Ma shenistapaktem. The question exact same question that you asked. It says in Shuvas Chavis Yoyer, you have it, I made a bracket there. In Minchas Yitzchak. Kuf Nun Vav. You had a question. Shechoshav kama inyonim oisav b'tzorich mischorei sheyuchal lenakis whatever. Im legam lemoshel liknos mechoines luxus, luxury car. Why would he want a luxus, not Lexus? Why would he want to buy a luxury car? Because I have someone in my shul says, yeah, I'm driving a Range Rover because people, or something like that, because people then talk to me differently. Shalideze yikne lo shame. He has a name. And have better influence in his business. Can he deduct that? So he says, he writes as follows. In that shuvah it says there that if you have a malbush beini she'ein bo kaftere kesef that doesn't have silver buttons, means don't go crazy, he says. He writes at the end, Shmamina de tzorach ledakdish le'yeh b'zeh mafriz ala mido, which means don't exaggerate. If you feel that driving a better car is going to help your business, it's a business expense. But if you're doing it because you enjoy, and it's for your enjoyment, that's not business expense. The same thing would be, this is an interesting shaila. So let's finish off here. Your expenses of business is not called profit, right? So that's why? Because it's part of the business, which brought you the profit. That's the money you invested to make a profit. But what about the expenses that you have at home to feed your family that you can't deduct? Because you made a profit from your business. The expenses of your house is not an investment for the business. That's your expense. So you have expenses, you have to give Meiser also. So therefore, a place can write like this. This is an interesting point. If you go to a restaurant with your clients and you're eating lunch, which costs you $100 lunch, right? So you can't deduct the $100 because you're going to eat also for yourself. So you can only deduct what is above what you usually eat. Let's say you eat lunch at home, it's $10, $20. That expense you can't deduct. It's not a business expense. Whatever you do extra beyond what you eat yourself, unusually, you're doing it for your business, that you can deduct and say it's not a profit, that's an expense for the business. So therefore, all the business expenses one can calculate and say this is not my profit, and therefore you only have to pay for your profit. You look at the Rebbe's letter, it's Meduyik in the Rebbe's letter on page, go back to this, the Rebbe says it twice, but I'm going to show you. Second. Yeah. First of all, look at Kuf Chav Gimel, page Kuf Chav Gimel. So there the Rebbe writes, Litzdaka, when it says 15%, 15%. Litzdaka Yafish Le'erech, you should separate for tzedakah 15% of your income. La'achar nikui ha'itzois, after deducting expenses. And the Rebbe emphasized the word mei ha'esek, only business expenses, nothing else. All business expenses could be deducted because that's not revach. Any other expenses that you have to pay your bills at home, that's not an expense of the business. So you're obligated to pay for your house, electric, and you're obligated to give tzedakah 15%, 10%. Why did the Rebbe write 15%? We'll discuss it in a moment. Another diuk of the Rebbe in another letter, it says,
what about a home office or something like that? Would that be eligible for deduction?
no,
Same is the same kind of thing. It's only whatever you use for your business.
right. If you use, it's not expensive for your business. You're living there anyway. But if you buy a computer for your business, you can take it off. It's not included. And then okay. If I find it a second. Okay, now the question is, tax. Maybe one of the most fascinating shilas, because really it's not, again, clear. Here's a question: income tax or property taxes. So what would you say the logic is? There's no Gemara for it. There's no Shulchan Aruch for it. All we know.
It's not your profit.
What?
It's not a profit, it's an expense.
But property is a home expense.
It's profit. Property taxes or?
Property taxes or income taxes? What do you say?
Income taxes?
Right. So income taxes, what are you saying? It's not.
You're not getting it.
Right.
It's
So-
not going to you.
The Ramosha Feinstein the Tshuva, he's the one that, you see his Seichel HaYoshar, he was very straightforward here, and most poskim accept his opinion, today's poskim, and he's mechalik, he makes a difference between property taxes and income taxes, based on this logic. The logic is, it says in Shulchan Aruch in Gemara, revachim, profit. Income taxes is not your profit. It's an expense of the business, right? You're paying it as an expense because the business, that's part of the business expense, like insurance and other things. Well, what's your profit? Your profit is when you come home clean. That's your profit. So income taxes you can deduct. You don't pay meiser from the gross. You pay from after the taxes are deducted. And some people say it might be a difference if you have to pay the taxes or it's taken off before, but no difference. Ramesha doesn't make a difference. However, it says Ramesha, property taxes you cannot deduct because that's an obligation you have to give.
You choose it also.
Yeah, you choose it, and it's for your benefit. It's for your house. You're getting services because it's not a question. It's not a part of the business. It's not that the business expense is to give property taxes. You bought a house, and therefore you have to pay property taxes. So let's learn the tshuva of Ramesha. It's a beautiful tshuva, and.
But if you own the property where the business is located.
We'll get to it in a second. We'll get to the Ahila question. So let's learn the tshuva, Igris Moshe. Some of the cup is not. Okay, you have a bit. So, Proti Dinim Maisek Sofim. So let's learn this tshuva. It's a beautiful tshuva, and you'll see the logic behind it. Hine, bedavar in yeshligvois hamisim. No, I'm sorry, lenakos. If you can you deduct the taxes misachar revach shloi from his profit? Shloi farich aleim lit aleim ma'asek sofim. B'misha nohag stam. You hear? The minag. V'leisne klum. It talks about minag. Or misha roitzel haschil linag ma'asek sofim. Someone wants to start giving ma'asek. Eich tzorch lisnai. Hanochin aniyas daiti. The loy kol hamisim shovim. Not all taxes are equal. The kesef gulgalto, shukargo, if it's a tax on the person, it's a personal tax that you have to give to the city. Everybody, not because of your business. Shukarga musli gemara, it's like a regular chayv. V'tzarich la'asa aleim. And it brings a raya from the Gemara. Let's continue further. Next paragraph. Avol, hurak kesef gulgalto. The same thing he says about misim that you pay for when you buy something. It's called state taxes, right? Sales tax, right? So sales tax you can't deduct. It's your choice, like you said. You bought it. You have to pay, you want to pay sales tax. You have to pay. You can't take it off as an expense of the business. It's not a business expense. It's a chayv. It's a chayv that you're obligated to pay. Avol hamisim shel income tax. He writes. Shezehu mas miharevach. That's a tax from your profit. Ein tzarich. What are you paying taxes income? From your profit. So it's not a choiv. It's like it's the profit. It's part of the profit you have to give away. So it's considered like lo hirviach ze klal. It's considered like you didn't make a profit. In other words, it's like the total the calculation of the business is what is the bottom line? What did I profit from this business? What I take home. The rest it's not my profit. So I don't have to give. And he says, "V'chein mas shel batim mi batim shein le parnoso." People have a house for parnoso. Ein la aser holov. That was a question.
Yeah,
if you have a property tax for business, you don't give. Why? Because it's not considered that you made a profit on it. Correct.
You would be paying rent.
Right. That's correct. But if you live in your own house and you're paying a property tax, it's not a business expense.
What if you live in the house and you rent out part of the house?
And
So can you deduct some of the property taxes? You're only living in part of the house?
And then you
And
also
the income.
Maybe it's something
get
about
income.
investment property, not bottom.
Right, so what is the income? Can you deduct the mortgage? How does that all...
so there was a shaila that someone asked. It's a really interesting question. Someone asked, I think Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach or Rabbi Yashu, I'm not sure, one of them, as follows. Someone took out, it's a similar question, someone took out, bought a house and took out a mortgage. And then he's renting out the house to pay up his mortgage. Like he lives in one floor he's getting rent to pay up the mortgage. Is that considered like he's making a profit? He's not making a profit because he's paying a mortgage, it's not a profit. So what would you say? So he says yes. He said the mortgage is a profit because it's your house. You're going to own the house. That's called a profit.
Interest.
Right? If the money comes back to you, basically, it's your profit.
But the interest is not. Full mortgage, not all the mortgage payment goes back to equity, some of it's interest.
Right?
So the interest you could take off.
You're taking a loan to acquire the house. No?
Can do with a car, use for a business and for the house. So what's the...
Well, if you're living there anyway, so you have to pay. So let's summarize what's the nekuda, the bottom line here. The halacha is you have to give from revach. The svara is revach means profit. All expenses of the business are not included in the chiyuv ma'aser because that's not your profit. That's the expense to make the profit. Any other expense which is not a business cannot be deducted. Income taxes, which is again a obligation because of the business requires me to pay this, so it's not my profit. Therefore, you don't have to pay for it. But all other taxes, sales tax, property taxes, according to Rav Moshe, one does have to. The Minchas Yitzchak in this tshuva is trying to be makel that you should be able to deduct all taxes. he's also a Pesach, he says, based on his svara, the whole thing's a mina. So he was trying to be lenient. A lot of Pesachim are trying to be lenient because they think that the whole idea of Maisik Sofim is really not a chiyuv. It's a mina which people makabel. But as I mentioned before, the Rebbe in the letters and in Shulchan Aruch, the Bikkur Yosef, a lot of Pesachim says a chiyuv mamish. And Moshe for sure in Tshuva said it's a chiyuv mamish, and therefore you do have to give taxes. So you do have to give Meiser from Revochim, and only the taxes which are included in the business you can deduct. Any other taxes you shouldn't.
When you say Meiser, Meiser is just one option, the middle option, right?
Right.
You basically mean tzedakah,
right?
And
no, but Meiser is a chiyuv. Meiser is a chiyuv. Tzedakah is you give a poor person the mekayim mitzvah tzedakah.
Right. But we saw 3 levels. So when you say Meiser, you mean not
Meiser becomes
the 20%. You mean
10%.
Specifically the 10%.
We'll get to it in a second. What if the 20% is a different? It's a mitzvah min amufchar, which is a hidur. So we'll get to it in a second.
That first talach said that you have to give what the poor person needs. So the poor person needs 30% of your income.
Okay. It's a good question. He's asking. Right in the beginning, the Mechaber says, if you have enough money, you should give Kifi Tzorech Aniyim. So what happens if you're very wealthy? You're a Bill Gates, so you can give more than the Chomesh?
I mean,
Definitely.
It's Tzorech Aniyim. So some people say, according to the Mechaber, yes. But the Ramah writes, what does the Ramah write? Ramah. Va'al yevazvez adam yesem mechomesh shleitzarech lebrios. It doesn't make a difference who you are. So there's a question. What does the Mechaber mean in the beginning? Kifitzerech Aniyim. The Aruch HaShulchan discusses. I don't want to get involved in tangle. We'll get to it.
Figure says not to give more.
What?
Doesn't Figure out say not to give more than Chomesh?
It says in Gemara, Ali Vazvez Yosem Mechomesh, right? But what happens if you're Osher Muflag, which not make a difference? If you give a fifth of your, you give a quarter of your nechasim, you're still going to have enough. If you're a billionaire, so what's going to be a difference? A quarter, you can still give a quarter, and it's still going to be. So that's the question. We'll get to it in a second.
Good question to have.
It's a good question to have, right? So I just want to mention another interesting Ramosha, Shuvas Ramosha. Ramosha is mechadish. I think what he's talking about is the concept of inflation. What happens? He gives a mashal like this: you bought a house for $10,000. Let's say $100,000, right? Yeah, that's it. You bought a house 30 years ago for $10,000. And now you sold it. First of all, you have to give Meiser only when you actually get the money. When you actually get the money. If someone, for example, has a business and people people owe him money. And he's accounts payable, but he doesn't see the money yet, he's not mechuyev. You give Meiser when you have the actual money. Okay? So that's so you have money coming in a year from now. When you get it, that's when you give. So you bought a house when it was 100,000, 10,000, 30 years ago, and you sold it now for, let's say, how much? 500,000. Okay. So start of attempt at 500. 500. What will be the profit? 490. He says no. Because what could you buy for 10,000 then? You could buy for 10,000 then much more. The value of $10,000 then was much more than the 10,000 today. So you actually didn't make 490.
You lost 490.
So he says you can calculate. That's what he writes in the Tshuva. You can calculate how much really the value of that money originally was in today's market, in today's prices. And anything extra profit, that's what you have to give Meiser. So it could be a big difference. People who have, investments and they sell it many years later, not necessarily have to give actually from the amount of dollars that they make. It's based on the value of the money at that point. So you have to go to an accountant and speak to him. And that, according to Rabbi Moshe, that's halacha berura. People bring down his psak. What's the logic behind it? It's not a halacha in Gemara, in Shulchan Aruch. Rav Moshe understood it. It's not called revach. That's not revach. I didn't make a profit. Because I could use those $10,000, I could have bought, in that time, it had a different value. Right? Than today.
So those 490 or 500, 1 million that you made, it's still kind of clean? Let's say, if you go to an accountant and say that those 10,000, they're worth $1 million today.
Yeah, because nowadays you can only buy another house.
No, let's say it's not worth $1 million. Let's say 10,000 today is worth, let's say it's worth 100,000. And you sold it for 500, so your profit is 400,000. So you don't have to give myself from 400. That's what he says.
What if you didn't buy it for a business? You happened to buy it, you lived in it, you moved on. It's not a business.
Same thing.
No, it's a profit.
The profit. Your profit is not really 500, it's 400. What's your profit? The value of 10,000 then is different than...
It's inflation.
It's inflation.
My point is he shouldn't have to pay at all for
Maisa has nothing to do with Mischar.
It has to do with revach.
Maisa is
Revach.
you profited off an end.
Yeah.
Right.
If you get a Yerusha,
It makes
it's
no
also
difference how you got the profit.
Right. Revach. It's all about revach. So, we mentioned about Chomish. Let's finish off with this Nakud of Chomish, because the Rebbe in the letters, before I get to the Chomish, I saw in some Poskim, Pischei Teshuva brings it, says one has to be, this is more like a Litvish type of attitude, give exactly a tenth. Not a penny less, not a penny more. Because it says, Al Tarbe in Pirkei Avos lo asur modus, when you give tithes, when you give Meiser and Tvua, you have to be exact. Meiser. Therefore it says, Meiser has to be Meiser, not a penny more, not a penny less. And some place I saw the Melaktim say you have to have a pinkas. You have to exactly, write down exactly, you should know, like a notebook, exactly how much is your expenses, you should know exactly. Pischei Teshuva brings, no, you can give more. And there's a reason behind it. The reason why you should, by Meiser, by Tvua, you can't give more than a tenth. Because Tvua is Tevel, right? Tevel is also to eat. When you give Meiser, that Meiser makes the rest of the food okay. But when you give more than a tenth, so you have Tevel mixed with the Meiser. So you give 11%. So when you took off 11%, you took Tevel with Meiser together. So it causes a problem. So that's why you have to be exact. When it comes to money, don't be medayik. Give a little extra. If you look at the Rebbe, in all his letters, we'll go through a few letters, the Rebbe says you should give more than a tenth. He writes one letter, 15%. What does the Rebbe mean, 15%? Because the midah beinanis means the obligation for each individual average person to give a tenth. Mitzvah mana mufchar, it's better to give a chomish, right? Now, chomish is not a halacha you have to give; it's a hidur mitzvah. So the Rebbe says, okay, you can't. Not everybody can give a chomish. Not everybody's able to give a chomish. So, but don't be exact. Give in between, a little bit more than a meiser, which is a little closer to the chomish. So if you read the letters of the Rebbe, you'll see in many letters. Kufchav base on the bottom. Heter shal meiser tzorchli is korev lechomish. Next letter. Kufchav gimel. Mehanochoin Hashem maskur toeh bezeh from his salary. We're not talking about business, we're talking about salary here. It's a good point you mentioned. It doesn't make a difference if you have a business or a salary. You still have to give meiser. In a yoyse mi meiser, v'korev l'chomish yitin izdoko. V'zeh yamshich barocha b'shar chelek haschar. Then he writes, I showed you when he says Chamesh Esrei Achuzim, 15% is the erech 15%. Why it's 15%? Because it's more than 10 and it's less than a fifth, so it's in between. At the end on the bottom, Kuf Chav Gimel, the Rebbe writes, She'ein ledagdik b'tzdoko. Don't be medagdik. U'maisa ha'omu b'tzdoko yesh lo hoysif aleim eizeh schum. The Rebbe's Shitta was not to be medayik exactly, because if you're medayik, then the Eibush is medayik. You should give a little more extra. And then Rebbe has something beautiful. If you don't give exact, then it becomes not a neder. Because if you're going to give every time a tenth, it becomes like a neder. But if it's not the same thing, the same amount, it doesn't become a neder.
I can tell you from personal experience, if you don't give exact, then it turns out to
be less. Correct? Correct? That's correct. And the Rebbe talks about basements. Someone has an income, a basement. He should give Yosem Mimaisa Schirus L'Shana Shena again. So that
You're saying you should give from the basement.
if you rent it, so it's an income. It's an income.
The whole rent becomes tzedakah.
But what if
By
you
Meiser.
still pay for the mortgage and you get an income from the basement or second floor? So you're still
a profit. I just answered you the question. I said the question before.
Yeah.
The mortgage is your house. It's your profit. You're taking a rent to pay up your mortgage, which is buying your house. So you're not spending it. You're not spending the money. The money is coming back into your pocket. So it's your revach, your profit.
And I agree with you. The interest is a business expense.
Is the interest on the mortgage, you can deduct that?
You mean personal income? Your business.
When you're paying a mortgage,
Your personal
you
house.
own a house.
Your personal
You're
house.
renting out some of the property to help you pay
Right.
the mortgage. So the part that's going towards the equity, it's your house, it's your profit.
Right.
But the interest that you're paying to the bank, you're paying 5%.
Right.
6%.
That's a loan. That's a loan. On a loan, you don't pay.
So that's that you can
Correct.
deduct from the-
The chora, yeah, you're right. Maybe it's a good point. That's a good point. Yes.
So you get it up.
Before we end off, someone sent me a
One second, just finish.
It's not taxed. I don't tax it.
So I just want to show you Kuf Chavav, how the Rebbe speaks about how important to give Meiser. And this, I think, is you just see how the Rabbeim, these are all letters. It's not one letter; it's many letters the Rebbe spoke to people about. He writes, "B'mesha koisav ashlefnei shana be'erech kona bayis b'shchuna acheres." He bought a house. V'tomid lo tzores. He has problems. People buy a house and they say, "Wow, things didn't go well." So the Rebbe writes, look at the Lashon. Lifamim rabbis koire bozeh. Many times these things happen. Kshe'ein zehirim, when you're not careful, ba'afroshas meiser. Very interesting. It's the first time I saw this Lashon. The Rebbe says many times tzoros happen because one is not careful by giving meiser. Al kol ponim meiser litzdaka meravochim shabayzeh. It's talking about a business investment, it looks like, from the profits of this house. If that's the case by him, that he didn't give Meiser, that means that till now he didn't give Meiser. So in order to correct it, he should give the Meiser which was missing. The Rebbe says sometimes you make a business investment, you say it didn't work out, you're not careful with the Meiser.
How could you give Meiser if you didn't make a profit?
It doesn't say you didn't make a profit, it says you have tzoros. It doesn't say you have profit, didn't make a profit.
Oh, just say it's sorry, but he made money.
Yeah. Tomid loy tzoros, I don't know, probably aggravations. Okay, so the question was asked by email. Go ahead, say the question.
See that it's good enough over here.
Right.
If somebody's expenses are equal to their annual paycheck or more.
So he's asking a very good question. What happens if a person makes a profit, but his household expenses are basically, he lives paycheck by paycheck, right? So we just said before, you can't deduct your expenses at home. On the other hand, you made a profit, but if you're going to give Meiser, you won't have enough to pay the bills. Good question. So, the halacha in most poskim are, the Rebbe speaks about it, but most poskim write, not before, I just want to tell you what other poskim write. Other poskim write, in such a case you don't have to give Meiser. Because the kavanah of Meiser was not for, is not that you should become an Ani and go correctly. The kavanah of Meiser was that you should help other people. If you can't help yourself, so first comes, it's in Shulchan Aruch, Reish and Aleph, from Tanat V'Eliyah, that first you have to help yourself and others. There's a seder. On the other hand, there's others who say, what does it mean you don't have enough? Maybe you can live on a piece of bread and water. The question is, what level is considered that you don't have? So therefore, again, there's a svar lakan. Some are makel, because they say the whole thing is a minas in such a case. But to balance this out, in other words, there's a svar to say you don't have to. There's a svar to say you do have to. Don't eat at restaurants at night once a week, and maybe give meiser instead of that.
Isn't there something?
Right? But the Rebbe addresses it in a different way. Go ahead.
I'm saying, isn't there something if you're accustomed to a certain lifestyle?
Right.
That's
Right.
people are supposed to help you.
So I just saw it today. I think Shlem Zalman Orbach, his opinion is you don't have to, and he says, what does it mean? What does it mean? Your expenses based on the regular expenses that you're used to in your neighborhood, the way you live till now. Yeah, there's such a svar. However, the Rebbe addresses it differently. B'meshe kosav, towards the end of page Kuf Chavav. Oides hafroshas ma'asel izdokah kshav matzav haparnoso dochuk. Exactly the question. You don't have enough. So then, what should you do? You give a half now, b'poyel, and the other half you should write it as a chayv, as a obligation that the ksheyarchiv, that when you'll have, you'll be able to pay it off. And the Rebbe's shitta was, in many, many letters, that by giving meiser, it's not an expense, it's an investment to make money. Because you're making the Eibishter shutaf in your business. And you make the Eibishter shutaf in your business, you make money. You don't lose money.
Now, always talk about it. The person who has a business.
Even a paycheck.
The person's working and he's making just a paycheck.
Yeah, so he's making an income also.
So that's not to call it, but it's not.
It's also a revach, he's making an income.
Right, so it's a revach.
Same thing.
So you get basically a tenth of your paycheck.
Right, a tenth of a paycheck, correct. Not less, not more. You want to give more, you can give more, understand? But not, you have to give a tenth of a paycheck. Even, yeah.
Wat atas gedaan, melk gewoon vast. Ja, gewoon, ja. Het staat niet redden.
Yeah, so I saw. I think what it means is that to preserve the moment, you should put melach. So that's tzedakah, I think. That's what it means.
What happened in case someone bought a car, say 7 years ago, for $25,000? Finance. Now you own the car, and you want to sell it today 7 years later. Let's say $5,000.
So you didn't make
This
a...
$5,000 he used it for 7 years. To use a car for 7 years.
Good, but it doesn't make a difference. We're talking... That's a good question. You only... The halacha is in poskim is you only give from money. You don't have to give... Someone gives you gifts. You don't have to give meiser from your gifts. From objects. What you use. Meiser is money that you... If you sell the object and you make a profit, you have to give.
What about money that was designated?
So you use the car. You don't have to give meiser from your car. Now you sold it. You didn't make a profit. You lost. You didn't make a profit. That's not called a profit.
So let's say money is given to you to pay a specific expense. So
Right.
it's coming through your hands, but it's already designated. Is that income?
It means
Is
that
that
if someone tells you specifically not to give it to meiser, that's what you're saying.
No, somebody's giving you for a specific.
And they're telling you not to give meiser. That's what you're asking.
No, if someone gives you money for a down payment, a marshal.
So it's a revach. So it's a revach.
That's a rebel, yeah?
Yeah, but the question is that's a revach. But the question is if someone says I want you to use it, all the money I'm giving you for that purpose.
Right.
So some people say a pidin you can't. Technically, you can't use it for something else because that's what you're given to. So you can't.
Or you're a shliach.
But they don't have a right really to tell you not to give meiser.
If you get a
So you
business
can
loan,
just try it out.
like
On a loan, you don't have to pay. It's not a revach.
It's also not a.
A loan is not your money. It's not your profit.
What about
What happens if someone owes? This is a very interesting question. You have chayves, loans, and you're making a business. You have profits, but at the same time you have loans. That's not called a profit, because you still owe people money. First you pay your debts, priyas b'chayv mitzvah, and then you start paying ma'aser.
are they personal loans?
No, not business loans. Again, business loan is not an expense. Even a personal.
Loan, if you pay a personal loan, you don't do ma'aser.
Even a personal loan. First you have to pay your loans, then you pay ma'aser. That's the halacha.
Somebody took a loan to pay his rent, for example. And now he made $10,000 in the business. He paid the loan for the rent. Doesn't need to
Pay
be
for the loan, not the rent, not the meiser.
The person, right, you might have a chiyuv ma'aser, understand, because it's your personal loan. But first you have to pay chayvas before you give ma'aser. That's what many persons.
Putting the meiser in.
I don't know. You could do both. I hear. Right. The Rebbe doesn't discuss this nakuda. I hear. I have to look it up. I'm not sure.
The only last question probably would be is if you use your meiser to pay tuition.
Okay, that's a separate topic. So before that, the Rebbe writes. If you look at, there's an answer. Tuition is not an answer. Look at the Igros Kodesh. In other words, the question, it's a separate topic, but I'll just say the kitzur. The question is, who do you give the meiser to? Do you give the meiser for poor people? Or do you give meiser for things which are tzedakah in Yonim? In Yonim, tzedakah means mitzvahs, for things which are to help a shul, to build a shul, to buy svarim.
CHY.
That's the question. To pay tuition. So the rule is like this. The rule is anything which you're obligated to do, you can't pay meiser. You have a chayv. If it's a chayv on you, you can't pay meiser. Meiser is a tzedakah. So chinuch of children is the obligation.
How much?
The question is not how much. The question is what age. That's it. What age? So the younger ones is your obligation. The older ones is not a chiyuv. So here comes the svara that maybe you could pay meiser for chinuch of older ones. Then it comes a question. Yeah. Then the question is about Yosef Meshei Shonim. Yeah, depends. Torish Biksav. No, Torish Biksav, Torish Balpeh. There's different levels. Some people say lit. Then there's a question about boys and girls. Are you obligated? So Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says that girls is obligation today in America. Do you have to send them to school? So it's a chayva already. Once it's a chayva, you can't use ma'aser to take away a chayva, an obligation.
Yeah, but in the United States also tuition is free until 12 years old.
It's a separate topic. We should discuss another time. I think it's because a lot of different shittas and different levels. I made a copy. I just want to finish off with one word. I made a copy of Shalas Teshuvas Minchas Elazar. He was a famous Munkacher. You heard about the Munkacher Rebbe? The Rebbe spoke about him. Someone asked him a question if he won a lottery ticket. Can you give more than a chaymesh? How much should he give? So I just want to show you, he brings a Gemara. It's not so much the Psak Din. The Masha Kosovim also, the way I read it, is trefa. You know what trefa is? In Yiddish, trefa means you found. You found the right numbers. Al Gerolis on a lottery. Can you give more than a chaymesh l'tzedakah? All the way to the end. Last one. So he says, the right guy says, no, it says you shouldn't give more than a fifth. So he says in the Gemara, it says in Eruvin as follows: Hamachzik benichse hager. The Gemara, if someone suddenly he became wealthy from a ger who doesn't have a yorshim, and it's hefker, and he got all the property. And Rashi says, midid itmiya. People are wondering, how do you get so rich? So in order it shouldn't be ayin horror, you should buy with this money a sefer Torah, says the Gemara. So he says, what do you mean a sefer Torah? Obviously it means more than a tenth. Because if it's a tenth, then you have to give anyway meiser. So says the Gemara, if you have something unusual, you got an unusual gift, you won a lottery, then in order it shouldn't be ayin hara, and should be a kiyum to your money, do a mitzvah, give more than a tenth. More than chaymish means, he says even more than chaymish. That's what he wants to say. I'm not saying it's mukhrach or not, but the idea is, he quotes a Gemara that sometimes it's an ayin hara, sometimes when you make some money and you want to keep the money, the Gemara says the way to keep it is give some of it away to a shul, a sefer Torah, do tzedakah with it, and this is the way you keep the money.
So you can give more than
You
that.
also create a bigger hand.
What?
So you can give more than that.
Yes, you can. You can. Some poskim write, I said before your question, that if you're Osher Godel, in this case he says you could, but if you're Osher Godel, that giving more than a Chaimish will not make a difference, you can. Like it says, like you recorded, Tzorech Hanim. But the Aruch HaShulchan wants to learn differently, Tzorech Hanim. I just want to finish off maybe the Aruch HaShulchan is very interesting how he views the whole idea of tzedakah and meiser. Why did the Chachamim institute meiser? In Torah it says tzedakah. So he explains like this. In the Torah it says v'chiyomo chochicha v'echzakto bevechei achicha imach poserech tiftach. If a poor person comes, give him something. How much should you give him? As much as he needs. So according to the Torah you have to give whatever poor person comes, right? So he says, Omnam Adova Muvan, the Torah wouldn't say you should give everything to the poor people. And you should become poor. Torah is making, it's sweet, it's pleasant. So he said like this. Listen, the way he was like a thinker, philosopher. Bizman shahoy Yisrael ba'aretz, when Yidden were in Eretz Yisrael, v'hoy matzavam toiv, when things were good, and there were very few poor people. So it's very simple. Everybody was able to give for the poor people, and you didn't lose any money. I mean, you didn't give more than, you gave us just a little bit, and everybody was happy. Avok shegolino me'artzeinu, we came into Golus. V'aniyim nisrabu, many poor people. V'ashirim nismatu, few rich people. And even, he says, if the rich people give all their wealth, there won't be enough for the poor people. We're talking a time of Golus in Israel, and even today, going to Israel, and even today, we don't know what's happening, but we do know. But there are poor people who don't have, and if all the rich people would give, not talking, maybe it's some very wealthy, yeah, but that's what he's saying. Lekach, therefore, Chachamim instituted, don't just give amount, meiser, v'chomesh. Lo yoisem. Why? The behechrech loses gevul. There has to be a limit. But I would say maybe a little different. He's saying that Chachamim gave a limit, not more. Maybe the Chachamim wanted to give dafka ma'aser, you should give a tenth. Because with Zman HaTorah, you didn't have to give a tenth. You gave a little bit. You mekayim mitzvah tzedakah. You didn't need to give more. There weren't too many poor people. In order for poor people to be able to have money, Chachamim required that each person has a chiyuv to give a tenth. And if you're mitzvah menamufchar, like you buy a beautiful esrog, and that's a mitzvah menamufchar, hidur mitzvah. So hidur mitzvah in tzedakah is to give at chomesh, to give up to a fifth. So therefore, it's an important mitzvah. It encouraged myself to get involved, and I spoke to some people about this mitzvah, and I see a lot of people not aware about it so much. I mean, people know you have to give a tenth, but the details, especially when you come to business and other expenses, you start thinking, and like you say, things change in everybody's life. One should always try and be medayik, the Rebbe says, and give a meiser. And if you missed 1 year to give meiser, you can always make it up. And this is only going to be a bracha to each one of us to be able to have what we need. B'teiv ha'nir v'nigla. Thank you for the opportunity to share. You can take the copies for yourself. It's for you. What?
Someone have a car, use a car for the business.
Yeah, for yourself? So you can't. You can't deduct it. It's your pleasure. But if you buy a fancier car because of your business, then you can deduct.
For using for business, using it,
yeah.
Also for now sometimes.
Okay, but so you mean the gas expenses?
Not the gas, the leasing, whatever.
No, it's for yourself. You're using it for yourself. Also.
Sometimes.
Let's say that the Chinese auctions, you give money to and then they win the prize.
Right.
So you gave the money. When you give it, it's tzedakah. But when it comes to the prize, now it's yours.
So you have to give meiser from it.
Meiser from the prize?
No, from the tzedakah that you got. From the prize that you got. Why not?
No, but the whole.
On the object, no. Objects you don't give meiser from. You give Maisa from
But this,
money.
was the money that you put in maybe not considered stock anymore?
But it's stuff, why not?
Anyway,
Because you got something in
no, because
return?
people usually
Or like if you go to like the Kiddush HaShluchim and you pay that